Dr. Ruckman, I know my stand on the King James, but when dealing with other people, it can be real involved. Can you give us a real simple formula that we can use?
Yes, ma'am. The most simplest thing you can use is this. Come to Matthew. And this is the most simple thing you can use. Matthew chapter 7. Matthew chapter 7, verse 20. There's only one argument that's unanswerable, that doesn't take any education to argue with, and doesn't take any facts to argue with. Matthew 7, verse 20. Wherefore by their fruits you shall know them. So if you want to know what a translation is, you watch the fruits, the translation. What does it produce? And what this book has produced is England and the United States. That's what this book has produced. And that can't be argued against. The United States was a nation 200 years before they had a modern version. The founding fathers sat down in Philadelphia, they had one book, and it wasn't the Geneva Bible either, it was the King James. Men wrote the Constitution, had a King James Bible. Abraham Lincoln, Roosevelt, Washington, Adams, Jefferson, King James Bible. By their fruits you shall know them. The fruits of the other Bibles are Spain, Mexico, Italy, and Central America. The fruits of this Bible here is England and the United States. Translations like this from the same Greek text produced Germany. And those countries, if they want to argue with it, they can argue all they want to, but you got the clothes, you got the food, and all the nation look to you for the food and look to you for the food and hate your guts because you got it. Why, if we quit sending Russia food and clothing, they'd go out of business in 15 days. If we stopped sending them wheat and sending them money, communism folded up, they couldn't even operate. We gave them $34 billion during World War II to fight the Germans with. Russia talked about beating the Germans. They couldn't have beat their way out of a paper bag. They gave them $34 billion for tanks and they never paid back the money. The surest proof is what a thing produces. You take a seed and put it in the ground, put a seed in the ground, and then what comes up? Put seed over here, comes crabgrass. Put seed over here, comes clover. Put seed over here, comes a plum tree, a peach tree, pear tree. Put seed over here, comes mesquite bush. Good for nothing. All right, you plant this word here, and up comes Tennessee Temple, Bob Jones University, J. Frank Norris Bible Baptist Seminary, 4,000 independent Baptist churches, Lester Olof's work, Charlie Fuller Old-Fashioned Revival Hour, Mordecai Ham led Billy Graham to Christ, Billy Graham Ministry, Charles Fuller's Ministry, Dr. M.R. DeHaan Ministry, Moody Bible Institute, Wheaton, Fuller. All those things were founded by men who believe and taught and preach this book. By their fruits you shall know them. Who supports the missionaries? America supports 90% of all the missionaries in the world. 90% of the missionaries supported by the United States. England, Austria, Canada, and Germany, and the rest of them, they take care of the other 10%. What's that do to? Thing right here. Some said the newer translations. This was done before the newer translations came out. When the newer translations came out, what happened? World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, women's lib, AIDS, integration, nuclear fallout, rape, murder, robbery, divorce rate 1 out of 2, public school system a jungle. By their fruits you shall know them. This didn't produce a jungle. This book here produced Washington, Adams, Lincoln, Jefferson, all that bunch. Patton used to read his Bible. He's kind of a militant Christian. MacArthur read his Bible every day. Where's that? Did I bring that? I didn't lay that thing down somewhere. I've got that leather-bound. Brother Johnson, would you go in that back room there and see if that thing is... Brother Robinson, one of you guys? See, I was back there praying. I might have laid it down back there somewhere. I want to read you what your founding fathers said about this book that they never said about any other book. Now, I know those schools are in apostasy today, and I know that those schools got away from the founder. When those schools were founded, Bob Jones Sr. be the King, thank you, be the King James Bible from cover to cover, including the cover. And so the rest, some of the rest of them, they're intimidated by their faculty members. Lee Robertson sitting out at an airport and ran into Bob Gray after Bob Gray had been up there for the Southwide Fellowship. And Bob Gray had said some pretty strong things about the King James Bible, and so Roloff, by the way. And when they got through, they left, and after they left, some of Bob Gray's students were back in the classroom, and the professor gave them a hard time. The students wrote Brother Gray about it. So when Brother Gray met Lee Robertson in an airport, he sat down and talked to him a while and said, "Now listen, that I've always been in fellowship with you and loved you and appreciated you, and my pulpit's always open to you. But," he said, "I want to have you know something about the Word of God." He said, "I believe the same thing about the Word of God Pete Ruckman believes." And Lee Robertson said, "Well, so do I." And Bob Gray said, "Well, then why don't you teach it?" He said, "I do." He said, "Why do you have faculty members that attack the King James?" And Robertson said, "I don't hire a man unless he says he believes it. I bring him to the office and ask him if he believes it. I won't hire him unless he says he believes it." And Gray said, "Yeah, but when they get back in the classroom, they correct it. Why don't you fire them?" And he said, "Well, it'd just be too much trouble." So a year later, Lee Robertson lost his job. The faculty took over. I think Lee Robertson and Jack Iles and John R. I think John R. Rice believed the King James Bible was the Word of God. He's hard pressed, to prove how scholarly he was by siding with those who didn't. But I don't always believe what a man puts down on paper, in order to impress somebody with. And the biggest argument of the King James Bible is, "By their fruits you shall know them." And I'll give you one other argument. Next time you talk to somebody, say, "What time is it?" They give you the time. You say, "How do you know it's the right time?" And they'll fumble around and say something or other. And you say, "Well, isn't your watch set on Greenwich, England? In absolute time, English time?" And they may have something else to say. And then you say, "Where are you located?" I'll give you the name of some town. You say, "What's that latitude and longitude?" They won't know. And you say, "Isn't that determined by England? Isn't absolute location and time determined by England?" So what is the temperature today? What is it? Kind of hot today, and it was 85. According to what? That's a British thermal unit. You take these dumb people out in the world, they don't think. They got rocks for brains. Absolute temperature is determined by England. Absolute time is determined by England, and absolute location is determined by England. That's an English Bible. Somebody said, "Well, the other's English too." No, they're not. They're American. American isn't English. Tell me something. When you went to school, did you study American or English? You study English. That's the King's English. All right, the first one is, "By their fruits you shall know them." The second one is, absolute temperature, absolute time, absolute location of this earth is determined by England. Why wouldn't absolute truth be determined by the same place? All right, now here's some statements. If you're a Yankee, this is Ulysses S. Grant. "The Bible is the sheet anchor of our liberties. Write its principles upon your heart and practice them in your lives." That's the only Bible Grant had. There wasn't any ARV in 1860, 1865, and 1870. Theodore Roosevelt: "If I were to have my way, I'd take the torch out of the hand of the Statue of Liberty and instead place an open Bible." That's a president talking. A president. He wasn't even saved, I don't think. Had more character, more sense than anybody we've had in the White House in the last 50 years. Chief Justice Marshall: "I have always believed in the inspiration of the Holy Scriptures, whereby they have become the expression of man, the words and will of God. No book of any kind ever written has ever so affected the whole life of a people. By their fruits you shall know them." President Harding: "The Bible is the word of life. I beg that you will read it and find this out for yourselves. Read not little snatches here and there, but long passage will be the road to the heart of it." President Woodrow Wilson: "Here is a book. He's talking about this one. Not talking about an RV or an ASV or anything else. A book, the Bible, is worth more than all others were ever printed. Yet it is my misfortune never to have found time to read it. That's the president. Here's Thomas Jefferson. I have said and always will say that the studious pursuit of the sacred volume will make better citizens, better fathers, and better husbands. Oh, I could here's Field Marshal Foch, here's Napoleon, here's God knows who in there. These fellows quoting this book. By their fruits you shall know them. That's the best argument. There are some other things, but it would take too long to give them from the scholarly standpoint. The best one is by their fruits you shall know them. That's the best one. Did you know that nuclear weapons are not banned in any country in the world? But Bibles are banned in 19 countries. You know what that means? It means this book is more dangerous than a nuclear bomb.
Yeah, right.
All right, something else.
Nothing like a Bible to clear up a college education.